first thing I want to tell you is that we actually have achieved some results, right? And if you look out in the hallway, you'll see some of the things that we've worked on, right? Now, I want to be clear about who the we is here, right? So the we is, I work for an international NGO called the Asia Foundation. And we means that we were getting a grant from a bilateral donor, right? So whether USAID or the Australian government, now DFAT. And then we would provide sub-grants to our local partners in the Philippines, ranging at about $50 to $100 to $200,000 a year. So all of this doesn't apply to the multilaterals. That's basically my kind of, so I have no answer for you, right? I'll just kind of give you a sense of, I'll just tell you right now. Okay, now the two things, the broad ways of thinking the way we worked in terms of the results is, the one was getting the government out of the way of working, right? So there you look at telecommunications, sea transport, and civil aviation, right? Just kind of getting the market to function because, regulatory capture and elite predatory behavior, right? As they say in the Philippines, don't make the regulator your friend, make your friend the regulator, right? So that's kind of the, right, that's who you're up against. All right, the second one is getting the state to perform, right? Getting the government to perform. And this one, two areas that we worked in. One was on introducing a reform on property rights, right? You'll see the kind of impact, a two-page law moved the titling from 4,000 titles a year up to 60,000 after the law was passed for every year since then, right? So a phenomenal increase in performance. And secondly was the introduction of new taxes on excise tax on alcohol and tobacco products that raised 1.3 billion additional revenue for universal health care, right, when it was introduced in 2013, right? So you kind of got to see the large transformative reforms. All right, so the development entrepreneurship, what we realized after like 20 years working on this, I realized there's kind of a logic and a method to the madness. So there's kind of four elements. One is the goal, technically sound, politically possible, right? And though there's criteria, you're looking for impact, you're looking for scale, you're looking for sustainability, which means try to get it so that it's part of everyday practice of the government or the market, right? Fourth criteria is political feasibility, right? So you kind of run through those, and normally your reforms, as you're kind of finding your way through, you'll get 3 out of 4, but you have to kind of find the magic 4 of what will actually work. The second one is the process, and that's the entrepreneurial iterative process, right? Which is a lot of what this workshop is about. And there, the way you operationalize that, which is one of the questions people are asking us, is think of it like taking a bunch of snapshots. You have to do relentless analysis and action every day, all the time, right? And you're basically looking at your theory of change, you're looking at your constituency maps. We have developed 6 management tools that we're looking at constantly and questioning those assumptions. You document those, relatively easy to do, and then you'll see eventually a picture of how your understanding is changing. So it's like a picture that's starts out very, very fuzzy, and then you kind of gets more and more in focus as you realize and understand all the different pieces that are going on. The third element, right, it's most important, is really the people, right? And this is the stuff I talked about yesterday. Local leaders are really the main heroes of the way we operate, right? Now, the thing is, as I said, is leaders want autonomy, right? They want to be self-directed, okay? And both Daniel Pink, who's written some stuff on the how do you motivate people, autonomy is the critical component. Dan Honig here, who I've read his stuff, also talks about, he's looked at 14,000 projects, 9 donors, right? And organizational autonomy is a key criteria for success, right? Okay, so autonomy is a critical part. In terms of the team that you assemble, I'll just mention we have 3. So you got technical people with the technical skills. You got a bunch of people with the political skills and networks, right? So we hire people specifically for that. They may not have the technical skills. And then your last key group, I refer to them as the insiders. These are people who came from the sector or they came from the area. They will help you unpack the business model and the logic, right? They're the hardest to find because they have to betray the people who they grew up with. They have, right? And so in many of our cases, people had, they did bad things. They want to atone for their sins. They become alcoholics, have breakdowns. I mean, all the stuff that normal people do, I guess. Anyway, but anybody raise your hands? No, but they're looking to kind of make contributions, right? But they're hard to find, and that's one of the key things, right? Because they're also not trusted. So you see these kind of NGOs are very, very, our CSO part is very skittish when a person who tells you who was part of the corrupt business model now is telling you how they do it, right? Because they don't know if they've really kind of let go of all of their past, right? Okay, fourth element is the role of intermediaries and donors, right? The notion here is entrepreneurship, right? The idea of creating innovation within large organizations. Lots of kind of work on this. So I think the way I conceive of the role, and I'll speak as kind of the intermediary, so my role is as the coach, right? I'm not the guy who's going to score a goal, right? Where's Matt Andrews? Matt, you wrote something about Messi and the German team, right, on your blog. I'll go with you on the team, right? It's the team, but I'm not on that team, right? I'm not on the field, okay? So I've lived in the Philippines for 25 years. I rarely go to the meetings where our local partners are engaging in the reform process, right? Because there's all kinds of stuff happening that I can't figure out what's going on, right? So, I mean, that's kind of an extreme version of me standing by the sidelines and allowing the local players to play the game, right? Okay, so final thoughts. Our hypothesis is, and as you can tell, I've worked in all these sectors and I have absolutely no technical background in these. Right? So, development entrepreneurs exist in every sector. I've been able to find them. We're testing them out in other countries, right? So we think that with the right project mechanism, more can be identified and more can be developed. I have developed some, kind of had that kind of latent, kind of naughty thinking that's needed, right? And that desire to be self-directed. And so the challenge, I think, for all of us is to create mechanisms that bridge the rules of the donors, which can tend to be rigid, as we talked about yesterday, and the autonomy that leaders desire to create.